Thank you for that gracious introduction. Uh, I would like to thank Ideal Cures and for inviting me for this FDD conclave. I think offering me a good opportunity to meet all elite professionals from India. I think basically I'm stationed in US right now, but I'm a hometown boy. My birth and brought up is from Hyderabad, and I worked for IDPL in my earlier career, and now I'm stationed in USA. So I think it was a last minute preparation, and I didn't know what kind of audience I'm going to face. So I decided to make a very generic presentation. I hope it will be informative to you. Topic. Molecule to market. Basically, idea is to you start with some chemical entity and make a product to get to market. So it is a comprehensive presentation with what are the challenges we as a generic industry face in making a product for US market. Mostly I will be talking about US market only because most of my experience is in US and currently also it is more related to US market. So in generics we have both the economical and financial challenges in today's time, and also there are a lot of technical challenges. Just going forward, we will talk about first the economic challenges and then we will get into the going backwards. Why generic development is relevant to Indian scenario? It is, even though I think we have progressed very well in terms of capturing the global attention in generic industry, still majority of our industry is not ready for discovery research because it is a very capital intensive commitment. So that is why I think generic development is very relevant to Indian scenario. Why it is relevant is relatively it is well-defined roadmap for mature and new organizations, less capital incentive, cost of development is $1 to $1.5 million per annum per ANDA, and limited risk and rewarding ratio. The success is imminent if planned right. Shorter development cycle, anywhere from inception to market, it is hardly 2.5 years to 3 years in today's time. And shorter and predictable review period. Basically, with GADUFA in place, I think the commitment is that the review cycle has been reduced from 2 to 3 years to hardly 10 months. Easier path to enter in the regulated market. So I think if suppose one has to go from discovery research, I think it is a long run process, but generics you can enter the US or mostly regulated market using generic products. Only shortcoming is the product life cycle for most of generic is very short. Let's talk about generic opportunities. In case of, if there are two pathways, if suppose you are an early entrant and first to file, then I think you get 180 days market exclusivity. In that period, you can capture almost 80% of market share from the innovator, and the probability is, yes, your price erosion is very less, 15 to 20%. So, and also you have first movers advantage. Basically, I think you can retain market share even after other competitors enter in the marketplace. Then comes the second wave where we have day one launch, where of late I think we are facing a lot of problem because there are multiple entrants at the same time, and there are a lot of players who had made all the investment, but all of a sudden they cannot recapture their investment also because you cannot get the required market share. It is very competitive market there. So usually I think you can make out good if there are only 4 or 5 entrants in the market, but once you go beyond 5, I think your market price erosion is close to 98 to 99%, and there is nothing, there is no money to make after that, or sometimes people end up swallowing their exhibit batches also, or launch batches or validation batches. So what are the challenges in generic? All generic company works off same canvas. Basically everybody has same this. It is not that we are coming up with new an innovator product or we are making a new research or something. Everybody knows, we go to Orange Book, what product is going to expire when and when you want to start with. So basically all are working from the same canvas. The early filers are only the big winner in this game. Those who got delayed a little bit, they are better off just withdrawing the products and work on something which can be more rewarding in the future. Another problem is this canvas what we are talking about is shrinking because big pharma's focus for future is on biotechnology products. So small molecule research is losing traction. Patient-centric healthcare, so more and more actually, if suppose recently Novartis got into a product which is basically customized to a patient's requirement. So that is where I think the big pharma is trying to get into. While all this is happening, there are more and more generic companies trying to enter the market. So that is creating a lot of competition. One time actually, I think 7 or 8 players were there from India. Now we are almost 20, and every day we hear, now the competition is also coming from China. But they had their setback in terms of quality, but I think now they are also started entering the market. So that creates additional competition. On other side, on customer side, we have a lot of consolidation. I think basically 3 customers in US controls 95% for pharma markets. So naturally, I think there are a lot of choice for customers, but very little choice for manufacturers. The market is growing at very slow pace at this time, 6 to 9%. There is a lot of price erosion in existing products, and also if you may be watching the current press where you hear about Trump talking about the prices are going up, so I think we have to control. I think it is a universal phenomenon. In all government, they talk about the same thing. So these are all challenges what we are facing right now. In addition, the cost has gone up significantly. Our API costs are going, API, excipient, packaging component cost is going up every day. Regulatory requirements are getting more and more stringent. One time we could file the product with 1 batch. Now we have to file with 3 batch of each potency. that adds the cost of development. We can file an ANDA only with 6 months accelerated and room temperature stability. So that would toll in terms of time to file the product. In addition, the fee I had listed here was never there when people were early entrants. And this fee is increasing every year. Even if, say, suppose API manufacturer is trying to file a DMF, the cost is 55,000. For each ANDA filing, it is about 180,000 right now. Even we are paying for our facility inspections. In each formulation facility, it is costing close to $250,000. So if you have 2 or 3 facilities, it is good $1 million plus or close to $1 million. Then comes a general GDUFA fee, which started a year back. Even to retain whatever the approved ANDA is on your list, I think there is a price for it. Like, if you have less than 5 ANDA, the cost is $186,000. You have 6 to 19, you have additional $750,000, and anything about 20 is 1.9 million. So it is significant increase in additional cost which was added, and that is also an additional challenge we are facing. In addition, if say suppose you filed an ANDA and FDA decided that you didn't meet the minimum requirement and it gets refused to receive, then I think you lose 25% of your price for cost for filing ANDA for that. So in nutshell, these are the financial challenges of the industry right now. Now we can get into technical challenges. So basically, generic development has several elements: patent landscape, availability of API, R&D evaluation, product development, analytical method development, manufacturing, pivotal and pilot biostudies, stability evaluation, ANDA filing. So all these, everyone has one or other challenges. You said something? Okay. So I think we will go through one by one. So basically, patent certification, if we talk about, I think there are 4 levels of patent certification. If suppose the NDA holder submitted no patent to the FDA, it is para 1, and I think you can just make a product, file it. In para 2, your all Orange Book listed patents are expired already. So there also there is no risk. Para 3, the patents are still active, but you will launch the product. You are committing that you will launch the product once the patent is expired. And para 4 is the area where a lot of investment goes for us, is that you are either invalidating products or trying to circumvent the patents, design around. And in those cases, I think there is a lot of litigation fee, and it can depend on how far you want to go in terms of it. It can cost anywhere from $1 to $5 million as an added cost for the product. Section 8 is label carve-out, where basically we say that, okay, if suppose hypothetically say minoxidil is there, so originally it was for antihypertensive drug, and then during development they also it can be used for alopecia. So if they added the second indication later, still you can develop the product and carve out the label with the other indication, and that is basically Section 8 filing. So now what are the challenges with API drug substance? See, very first challenge is identification of DMF grade API source. A company like Ajanta, who just focus on formulation area, I think our dependency is mostly on outside API sources. So in those cases, I think identifying a reliable API and quality API, DMF grade API is a challenge. Another problem is those which are formulation related companies who are only formulation companies. For them, getting an opportunity for first to file is no-no, because most of the API manufacturers have forward integrated into formulation area, and they will certainly like to file first before they can provide you with API to develop. The problem we face is that if suppose there is any quality or regulatory issue with our vendor, then I think our ANDA gets impacted. A lot of time I see in our environment that we end up not filing the product because there are problems with the API manufacturer. They got cited, they have import alert or something like that. Then even if you have developed, you are at the end line, you cannot file the product in that. Now, of late, actually, I think it is even going further. Even if you are KSM manufacturer for API, if he has problem, then also your ANDA get impacted, because I think it is no fault of yours, but I think he is not meeting the quality standard. So when you are selecting API, all these things has to be addressed. Even in one of the incidences, we got stuck with an outside facility where we were using few tests, something like XRD and all that, because our XRD equipment was out of commission. And for sure, I think we got cited. So it shows that even if you have done all your work fairly, I think still there is a challenge that you may get shortchanged for filing your product. Now, next element comes is reference listed drug. See, we as generic industry, we make a bioequivalent product. So it is already marketed product. Somebody has filed as new drug application, and we take their product and try to make an equivalent product. So there is a big challenge sometimes, and particularly those who are starting new, to find a source for RLD. And RLD and RS I have specified because sometimes when RLD get removed from the marketplace, FDA designate an alternate approved generic product as a reference standard, and that becomes your reference for developing the product. So the point I'm trying to make is, if suppose you start developing with the RLD, and in the interim, that RLD, usually what happens is once the generic enters market, the velocity of the product for innovator goes down. And if you, I assume that all of us face this problem, is that after a while you don't get the RLD product. You're done with your bio-study with the bio-strength product, but if you are going for second strength or something to get bio-waiver, you have a product not available to do that study. In those cases, sometimes you get stuck with it, and in those circumstances, then you have to wait, you have to write to the agency to designate some secondary reference standard so that you can take that. But that itself is a big timeline. The practice is that we cannot get the innovator product from the innovator itself. You have to develop relationship with some retail pharmacies or wholesale pharmacies, and these were early days problem. Of late it is not there, but procuring R&D used to be a big problem too. So that has become less and less. But still, something like RIMS product or Itasu products, still there is a big problem because they are distributed through a special channel for risk mitigation strategy. So these products are not readily available, even from the routine pharmacies. And to procure small quantity of product, you have to pay a very high premium for these products. Well, formulation development, I know that the whole team is formulation, so I will not be talking much about it. I think we all are familiar with formulation challenges. Yes, formulation is the core activity of our industry. So naturally, there are multiple challenges. It is always easier to make a new product because you don't have to match anything. The worst case in generic products is you cannot be good, cannot be bad. You have to be equivalent. And sometimes with all ingenuity, we end up with either super biolevel or sub-biolevel. And I think we have to go through the process of optimizing the formulation to come up with a product which will be matching to that. And that is ultimately our objective. Scale up is a big problem. I know a lot of people, they have filed the product and because of scale up issue, they could not launch the product. Fortunately, we didn't have so far any problem with our scale ups. But yes, I work in different environments and I think scale up is a big problem. Because the reason is that when we are developing product, we are developing on a lab scale equipment. And dynamics of these lab scale equipment, even though they in principle, they work with the same mechanism. As we go to higher scale equipment, the efficiency goes up. So all your processing parameters has to be adjusted. Problem happens is when we are filing the ANDA, we spell out everything that I'm going to do exactly this way. And FDA holds you to those commitment you made in your ANDA. You cannot even wiggle there. And that is where the problem comes, that we cannot optimize our parameters. So it is a challenge, but I think I know that the amount of generics we are supplying from India, I think we are circumventing or we are conquering that problem also. I work in US also, and they have very different thought process from what we have. As a formulator, our training is very different we are not process engineers. Usually, I think process engineers who has a degree in chemical engineering, they are better process engineers. They have been taught about the process as well. So something like Procter and Gamble is there. So they will never hire a pharmacy graduate for processing end. They will have all chemical engineering for scale up, processing changes, processing improvement, all those things. Next is pilot and pivotal biostudies. I think we use dissolution as our surrogate for development. A lot of time we match our dissolution for the developed product in multimedia, all pH conditions. But still, I think when we go to clinic, we flunk. So one of the ideal tools for that is we need to make some investment into pilot biostudies, because then you get a real life experience, what is happening in the body and how your product is performing. So I think even though it is a cost, but I think pilot biostudies are important for accelerating the filing timing. And the rule is that you don't go with one particular formulation or lead formulation. You work around 2 or 3 with little variable, so that you go with 2 or 3 formulations. And based on that, then you can withdraw the inference that which is working and what parameter I have to adjust to optimize my final formulation. And this way, I think you can save a lot of time instead of going sequentially in terms of optimizing the formulation. When it comes to pivotal biostudy, if suppose a protocol is not written properly, there can be a problem, because I did 40 subject study or 50 subject study, and one behaved very erratic. If I don't have the it is not spelled out how I can exclude a subject, then I have to include that in my statistical analysis. And a lot of time that becomes a big problem. I had seen this problem in our 2 or 3 studies where one subject misbehaved and whole study, I think at least half $500,000 down the drain. So now also we depend our biostudy with CROs, and if CROs are not credible, then I think your all studies going few years back also can be scrapped, if suppose the CRO turned out to be tainted. So that these are the challenges we have. Basically, I think it is a routine description of, and everybody is aware of this. I think we have to do the accelerated as well as in all packaging configuration with long-term stability studies. If we have to file, then I think you as a buffering, you can put an intermediate stability station, which in case if accelerated fails, and the mechanism of degradation is different, which is because of higher temperature condition, then I think you have a buffering situation where you can have, you can go back to 3065, take a short shelf life to begin with, and then with room temperature, you can extend your shelf life eventually. One of the things we can do in this, that I think our stability test itself becomes a huge workload for everybody. So now I think there is provision that we can bracket on pack sizes to do your stability studies. But I think everybody is familiar with this, that there are 4 modules or this. Now everything is accepted by electronic filing, manual filing is, and basically I think these are routine filing elements, and everybody is now I think is pro at it. So I think we don't need to talk much about it. only concern should be that when we are first to file, we rush and file the ANDA. And if suppose you miss certain element, required element, the probability is that you will hit with the RTR, refuse to receive. So I think we have to be careful when we file the NDA. I think our challenges don't end with the filing. I think during review, I think we have a lot more headaches. I think every time you think that you have learned a lot about it, the agency comes with some of the citation which you never think about. So you have to be always prepared for that. I think I'm trying to reiterate the same thing. It is not necessarily that as an ANDA filer, you have to do your work optimally. It is anybody else who is your partner in the ANDA, they have to be equally conscientious about quality. If not, I think your ANDA can be stuck anywhere. After we got approval, we launched the product. Our responsibility doesn't end at the launch of the product. I think as long as we are in the market, we have things to follow, and these are the things we have to constantly be. Is that if you receive any market complaint, it can be product related, it can be, I think we are getting a lot of complaints saying that we took your product and it is not effective. I think even though we are not responsible actually, I think we are taking efficacy and toxicity data from the innovator. We are just making a product. Our responsibility is to see that the product is not degraded and it is having the drug content what we have said. Beyond that, we cannot do anything. A lot of time people get very confused what we should respond to this. But then if you clearly know what is your responsibility up to, you can properly respond to that. Pharmaceutical, particularly generic, are now, I think it is applicable to all pharmaceuticals, is very convoluted. I think those who are only with formulation background, they will never understand this math. See, product we sell at $2,500, which is a WAC price. But our realization is only $10. So I sell for $2,500 to my customer. Then he charges back me $2,490 for each bottle. So problem is, I end up paying that because my terms are 90 days. So I pay everything upfront. And when even for chargeback, he claims, and that day I have to pay. So he is keeping my $2,490 per bottle till he pays that entire $2,500 for us. So 3 months he uses all your money for nothing. And a lot of people don't understand. And people see, oh, wow, I'm getting such a high price for my product. But reality is the contracts are very convoluted. Not only that, you have a lot of rebates, this, that, and these are to be accounted for. So, I think I will conclude my talk. Generic is still a lucrative business for Indian companies. There are lots of challenges, but they can be addressed. Industry is at a point of diminishing returns, and for survival, we will have to look into other growth opportunities like biosimilars. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.